Greetings and namaste, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Yoga Pod Class. I'm here today with Katie Pudwill with Grow RDH. As many of you know, I'm Chelsie Lael Kennedy, the founder of EEL Health and Wellness Aegis, and I'm here to inspire you to find your light in the dark and the hidden wisdom and creativity and gems there through a conscious relationship with your breath. Walking through this episode, I'm always going to invite you to notice your breathing. Let's slow down, tune in with us as we dial in, bringing the pace, that slower rate, and just breathe. In the Yoga Sutras 11:2, 49 through 53, Patanjali teaches that when breath is regulated, the veil over consciousness lifts. And modern science calls that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself with each breath. I'm so excited to be here with Katie. We have known each other since college, and she has gone on and developed herself in such a beautiful professional manner. As you know, I'm a trauma-informed yogini, and she has taken the trauma-informed practices to the dental hygiene world. And I get goosebumps saying that because, of course, it needs to be there also. So we are going to be presenting this series. I'm talking about different things like the tension that we hold in our jaw and the connection that has to our hips, the clenching of our teeth and how that affects us, the stress of the mouth, the acidity of our mouth. And she's going to give us all the cool brain science behind that and what's going on in our mouth when we're stressed out. And then I'm going to pair that up with some practical off the mat tips of how we can regulate our stress response and bring back down that pH level that gets heightened when we are under stress.
So, we are just going to get started on this first episode, just getting to know each other over the camera. Obviously, we do already know each other, but for you listeners, we're kind of going to just interview each other and learn about the very different specialties we have. And I think it will help sort of set the stage for how this is all connected. So I'm going to start first, and I just would love to hear, Chelsie, about your training, your background, what got you into this. Maybe first let's start with what got you into this, or how did you get so deep into yoga and trauma informed?
It became by way of necessity. I was recovering from my own trauma in life, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I have a business degree, and I just wasn't loving the business world, and it didn't align really post trauma and honestly with my values. I didn't love corporate America. So finding a modality that helped me improve my focus, my resilience, and presence in this world is really where it took off. And I noticed it first because I was told that I wasn't breathing. I was holding my breath. And then that's where it started, right? This relationship, this conscious relationship with the breath. And that's why I love to start with people. It's like, how are you breathing? Are you reverse breathing? Are you anxious? And let's dig a little bit there. So fast forward, that started in 2013. Now we're in 2025. So I've got 12 years of breathing practice consciously and almost 1,000 hours of yogic training. I have my 500-hour yoga certificate, and then I have a few trauma-informed identifiers from Veterans Yoga Project, She Recovers, and then also the 12 Steps of Yoga Recovery. So that's kind of been my lineage of training for my yoga path. I also started down a somatic journey, and yoga is very deeply somatic. It's about that tuning into what's happening on the inside. Somatic Experiencing Institute, founded by Peter Levine, who is just one of those trauma gurus, heads that. And I'm a beginner level 2 in the somatic experiencing process.
Tell me a little bit more about the She Recovers thing. I know you've talked a lot about that, like on social media and stuff. Tell me more about that.
So She Recovers is an online community that actually hosts trauma-informed recovery meetings that include yoga, that are women all over the world recovering from things like anything from divorce to chronic illness to addiction, realizing that most everybody goes through something in life and that we're all recovering from something. And I just love their slogan, we can and do recover. So when you put a bunch of women together, it's really neat how unstoppable we can become when we are encouraged to build one another up instead of compete with each other. So She Recovers is actually found me when I was in a treatment program for PTSD. And I was like, okay, well, if I am I have this PTSD. Like, what can I do for a job? And I'm like, okay, become a yoga instructor. That seems less stressful. And started my journey with them. I went to a retreat. I had my first kind of in-person yoga experience. And I stayed connected, and I got one of my first trauma-informed certificates from them after getting my 200-hour done. Karen Strong and her mom, Dawn Nickel, are the co-founders, and they are just a dynamic duo of women in recovery that I love giving shout outs to. So yes, go find them on Facebook, Instagram. They have a mental health talk every Monday. They're really pioneers in the trauma informed world.
I love that. And what a great resource for anybody that is looking for that. So thank you. And then tell me about your career right now. So you have a podcast, obviously. What else are you doing? You're doing yoga trainings. Tell me all about what you're doing currently.
Currently, I am still enrolled. I will probably forever be a student, right? In my yoga therapist course. That's an 800-hour course, so that I can take clients who have a diagnosis, either psychiatric or physical diagnosis, and I can prescribe them yoga for their recovery in ways that is very tailored to their condition. Turns out more of us have some kind of dis-ease, right? Coming from that Latin word without ease, or without ease in some way. So helping people feel at ease in their body is my specialty. And again, that's through the relationship with that mindful breath connection, that somatic awareness. And I get to do that through a lot of online platforms. I do have a few in-person private events, but I have a app on both Google and Apple Play stores. So fun. There's a 90-second, reset. So you can ground down in any moment. Just click this. You're not scrolling through a bunch of like, oh, I need to calm down. I need a 90 seconds, right? We can do it in 90 seconds. And then I have my most exciting offering right now is the current. And that is a 100-day program, a group where we meet twice a month, and then we have daily Telegram support. So you're going to work through whatever you're working on. You're going to have a goal, an intention for 100 days. And we're going to apply these practices to 1% of your day, which is less than 15 minutes, and see what positive like snowball effect we can get there. It's a neat group dynamic that kind of comes from that concept of we grow better together. I do have also an individual container work, which is a transform anchor in 12 habits, or 6 habits in 12 weeks. But that's what I'm doing right now. I love the app connection. There's a community feature and space on there. And actually, at the end of this month, I'm rolling out what's called the Oceans of You. It's a 33-day recalibration experience where we're going to go through our layers of our being, which in yoga we call them the koshas. And then we're going to go through our energy centers of ourself, which in chakras, in yoga, we call those chakras. And then the last week, we're going to work through the elements of nature and just see how those pieces align and are really ever present in our everyday life. We are just too busy, too on autopilot to notice. So I'm really excited to be launching that experience to finish out the 2025 year and roll into 2026 on a good foundation. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah. Well, I just really respect everything that you're doing. And again, because we're both trauma informed practitioners of some form, I'm excited for this series. And I just think that both of our audiences are going to just have a lot to learn from the conversations that we're going to have. So I'm very excited.
I'm so excited. A little bit backstory. Katie and I also used to work together. So getting to work together again is like, I have goosebumps all over. I'm so excited. And we're going to make this a lot of fun because, well, that's Katie and I. So we're here for it.
We've waitressed. I mean, what? At least 2 years we waitressed together in college. Right?
Yeah. Yep. It was a good time. July 5th, the day after. Uh, July was always a good time. So as we get into that, Katie, I knew you in college. You put gemstones on my teeth, made them bedazzled and beautiful, which I see you still have one on too. It's gorgeous. Yes. Oh, yes. I'm going to need a new one.
Yeah. That was the first thing we learned before we learned sealants because it's the same material that you put a sealant on with. So they taught us how to put tooth gems on because it was an easy way to practice with the material. So that was how we practiced doing sealants.
That is so awesome. It's so fun. Okay. So I have a question, the biggest question. is going to start with what's Grow RDH? What's your mission? What are you doing?
So Grow RDH is what. So originally, when I originally started, it was I was had it in my mind I was going to do continuing education just because I felt very passionately again about motivational interviewing and trauma informed care, talking to patients, learning or practicing how to talk to patients. A lot of the CEs that I was going to, it wasn't very hands on. You just go for an hour, check the box, whatever. And I love doing interactive CEs where with motivational interviewing, you have to do role plays and you have to like sort of get in the mindset of how you talk to patients. And again, with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and trauma informed care in the dental op, it's really interactive, right? You can't learn it without practicing it. And we're all practitioners. And that means we're practicing all the time and getting better. You don't just graduate from dental hygiene school and all of a sudden you're just this great dental hygienist. So I originally was going to do CEs and I started the podcast just to get the word out. And then that led into, okay, how do like I get this to the masses? So I started a YouTube channel. All my podcasts are on YouTube and Spotify. And then I was thinking, so I have it here actually, and I will share it with you guys. So I put all this stuff from my videos into like, I love being on Canva and just designing stuff. It's fun for me. So then I have like these PDFs or pages, I guess, of content. And I was like, well, I'm just going to throw them in a planner. That way you can have them to your side. And so that's kind of, it just progressed, like snowballed into how do I get this out to everybody so they can have easy access to it. So that's how it started. And that's where I'm at now.
I love the planner. It's beautifully designed. This is your second or third year of putting out a planner?
This is my
Second year. Yes. Did you learn something from the first year to the second year? Was it easier the second year to put it out?
It was. It was way easier. I did an undated version. Had a lot of people ask for an undated version because it was like later in the year when they learned about it and I didn't have any. So I did undated version and I added more things and I added the trauma informed care page and sustainability and dentistry and reducing waste and stuff like that. So I added a few topics too.
Great. So it's got that new and improved, like you're always learning and you're growing too. I love that.
Yeah.
So maybe you know more than me about people's fears, probably of the dentist, right? And I feel like what you're doing is trying to bridge that gap with the providers and the clients that are coming in or not coming into your care. Can you tell me more about kind of how that bridge looks in that trauma informed piece?
Yes, dental anxiety is such a real thing. And I don't want to diminish dental anxiety, but dental anxiety and like a trauma response are definitely two different things. Some people do have debilitating dental anxiety, and it is stems typically from an experience. Overall, in general, with trauma, you can have other responses to dentistry other than just dental anxiety, right? So, like people pleasing, fawning, and I talked about this in a couple episodes ago, but sometimes those responses don't look like dental anxiety either. And so, my hope is when we talk about this with practitioners, is that they can recognize other signs of trauma, not just dental anxiety, but also when you're dealing with dental anxiety, coming from a source of understanding and approaching them in a safe way, being a safe provider. And when we teach the students ACEs and when we teach trauma informed care, the main thing we want to focus on is building competent communities, because it's okay to be right, you're in the community, but if you're not competent at co-regulating your own emotions or self-regulating your own emotions, then it's going to be really hard for you as a provider to also then try to co-regulate with a patient who is having this trauma response. we're all we all have inner children in us that have experienced trauma or have experienced adverse experiences that mold how we grow up and mold how we respond to the world. So to me, if we can heal our own little inner child, then we are better off as practitioners because we can then co-regulate with patients who may be having a trauma response and not even realize it. So I guess to me it's so holistic, because not only do we have to encounter patients who are having this, but also we ourselves have to be able to recognize it in ourselves, because then we are that co-regulator person for them. So that is the bridging the gap, is how do we educate providers, how do we educate patients? And I think overall it just builds empathy. You're empathizing with someone's situation, with their upbringing, with trying to better understand why they're responding the way that they're responding. So I think that's where I hope to bridge the gap. Hopefully I answered that right.
Absolutely. It really to me sounded like that human connection piece, right? It's not provider to client, it's human to human. And
Yeah.
that's really beautiful. And trauma informed spaces, as you probably know, and maybe our audience knows, is kind of a niche area. It's kind of, especially in the rural areas, which we're both from, it's like trauma what? So you went to your undergrad to become a dental hygienist. You're working in dental hygiene. You teach dental hygiene also. What was that draw or that pull to go in this trauma informed care side of things?
Well, so my master's is in dental hygiene. And so originally, I worked for about a year in private practice, and I just kind of thought, this maybe isn't for me. I really like the education piece. So I went into education, and it was when I got into this school. So my clinical rotation is in Department of Corrections. So I bring students into the prison, and they clean offenders' teeth. And we started learning through my role at the prison, not through the role at the school, that motivational interviewing. That was the first piece of it that like sparked my interest, because we learned how to de-escalate conflict through motivational interviewing, and that led into patient communication techniques. It led into trauma informed care, and that's kind of how it started. And through University of South Dakota, which is where I teach, the child protection maltreatment department, I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly, but some version of that department started offering ACEs training, and we really wanted to push it in the School of Health Science. So I was like, absolutely, sign me up. This already fits with what I'm doing. So we got trained to be ACEs trainers. And so I did that. Then I started, so my PhD is in psychology, and it's an emphasis in cognition. And so that's where, not 100%, I'm not a clinical psychologist by any means. I am not clinical practitioner of mental health. I just want full disclaimer, I'm not a mental health provider, but learning the cognition piece and the neuroscience piece, that was super interesting and connected the dots for me of how just different upbringings really mold the way that your brain works and functions. And yeah, so it all kind of connected at the end to end up, this is my passion, this is my focus.
It really feels. And I know we can spend hours on this, and I'm so excited to jump in. Like, we have an entire series planned because there is so much that we can like nerd out about on this.
Yes.
What would be your ask for your audience, for my audience, as we kind of open up this box? And what are you offering? Do you have some private CE classes, or is everything through the college? How can they stay connected with you?
If you're interested, you can go subscribe to my YouTube channel. So it's Grow RDH, YouTube or Spotify. So that's where my podcast is housed. If you are a dental practitioner, yes, I will offer, I do private CEs on this at offices, and I would be happy to connect with you. You can just put in a message on my website, growrdh.org. And otherwise, I have a ton of free content on YouTube. I would say go for the free stuff, and you want to dive even deeper. So I've done motivational interviewing workshops. Those are super helpful. I would love to connect with you.
Great. So they could have an office weekend training. Not that anybody wants to work on the weekend, but you would do those
Yeah.
types of things, those types of workshops.
Yes. Yep. And those are usually the fun ones. They're interactive, and so it gets your office talking. And when you do it as an office, it's so much more. It's more realistic in one way, because you have to role play with each other. And that sounds intimidating, but I promise it's not. And it's more lasting, because then your whole office is in the mindset of trauma informed, right? It's not just like, oh, I went to a CE, now I'm trying to bring it back. When you do it as an office and you're all speaking the same language, that is the biggest, huge step towards being a safe place, or being a safe office, or offering trauma informed care. So speaking the same language about trauma is huge. And I would suggest, yeah, if you're interested in bringing it to your office together, it's really beneficial.
Okay, so the somatic yogi in me wants to just peel back a few more layers. Dental hygienists run the show, but are not running the show, right? So, as a dental hygienist or maybe a receptionist, a business manager in a dental office, what are some of the like high flags of maybe we could look at this presenting it to the owners or the dentists who make those calls to say, yes, I want my team in this type of training. What would you prompt or encourage them to have conversations with those decision makers?
That's a really good question. That's the hard part about this topic. And I think that's why it is really niche. I love dentistry. Obviously, I'm in this field. I've been in this field since 2009, but it's not as flashy as other conversations. It's not a moneymaker by any means because you might be having to have two different appointments or three appointments just to get a patient to feel safe and comfortable, right? That's not going to increase your production. It's not going to, benefit your office financially. So I have struggled sort of trying to push this. But what I will say is that becoming a resource in your community over time builds a reputation that you are accessible to everybody and you do operate under a trauma informed umbrella, right? And so I think the biggest thing that it will do is it will help you learn how to reach out to resources in your community. It will help you learn how to get patients the resources that they need, whether that's building connections with medical clinics, it's building connections with social workers in your area, it's building connections with mental health care providers to bridge that gap. Again, it's not flashy, it's not a moneymaker, but I think over time, I think you will really increase your connections in your community, which will ultimately help you because you are going to become the office that is the safe office.
Well, thank you so much. And again, we're deep in it. We love the trauma informed, and sometimes it's hard to remember that maybe the 9 other people aren't talking about trauma informed. So I say this with that bias of knowing like trauma informed practice is the way of the future. This is the direction we are going to be going. We're excited to be here and bringing it with you, but it is going to be coming in waves, right? There's going to be a snowball effect. So I do believe that people should be encouraged both individually, that be the change you want to be in this world, that you want to see in this world. And that does ripple out. So even if you don't have a business office or decision makers that are going to be like, yes, let's sign up for something that's not strengthen our bottom line, taking these practices, I have stuff free on YouTube also, and just breathing into being, right? So I want to maybe close this out with just a little somatic awareness practice, tuning in, right? Feeling your breath, feeling the support beneath your seat, in your feet if you are standing, perhaps softening or closing your eyes. Following your breath in through your nose, expansively into your belly. Many of us reverse breathe, but we're going to be expansive when we breathe in. And then soften the belly as we exhale. And imagine that we're pulling that belly button to the spine. Following your next breath in like a wave. Invitation to soften between the eyebrows and relax the jaw. Exhale, allowing your exhale to be longer than your inhale. Again, checking in with the support beneath you, but also the atmosphere in the ether around you, both the air that we breathe, but that energetic space that we can't see. Coming to this place that feels like center, perhaps a line that is up and down, running in front of your heart space. Perhaps that line has a color. An invitation to roll your shoulders up to the ears and then back down, melting down the back. without cranking them, right? Just letting them melt easily, elongating the ears away from the shoulders. Following another wave on the inhale. And when you're ready, softly, gently blinking your eyes open. Yeah, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. We do have a fun series and practical tips that you can take these practices with you every day, right? These are human tips and tricks, and I'm excited to dive into all the nerdy brain science behind it, but also that application in getting that switch from the parasympathetic nervous system, well, from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. Long words, right? Sympathetic is kind of like that stress response, and then the parasympathetic, the PS, like rest. So we'll dive deeper into that. Katie, do you have any parting words of wisdom?
No, just thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you.